course, you may have heard that we had a little bit of a dust-up earlier this year about whether elementary school kids should be exposed to woke gender ideology in their curriculum. And there were some people that wanted to do that. There are school districts across this country that are doing this. Let's just be clear. They will act like it doesn't exist. You can look and see they will have different guidelines in places in California, New Jersey, you name it. And they basically want to say, a first grader, well, you were born a boy, but you really may be a girl, and maybe you want to identify that way. And in Florida, we said that's wrong. That is not appropriate for our schools, and it's certainly not appropriate to be going behind the parent's back and changing a gender of a student without parent knowledge or consent. The school should not be doing this anyways, but it was actually happening against the parents' wishes. So what we basically did with the Parents' Rights in Education bill was we said, okay, when you send your kid to elementary school, you can be sure that they're going to be learning to read, write, add, subtract, the basic academic subjects, but they are not going to have transgender ideology shoved down their throats. You can make sure... You can make sure that you as the parent are going to be involved in any key changes in services that are being provided to your student in these schools, and that you would have a right to object on that. Now, that's pretty straightforward, and in fact, if you ask people about it overwhelmingly, and not on a partisan basis, majorities of every demographic agree with what we did. Obviously, you had the media that were trying to demagogue it. You had the left that was kind of in a real tizzy about it. But, the left understood that they cannot win elections on that issue because parents are not going to stand for it. And so what they did was they tried to subcontract out their activism to corporate America. And so they enlisted as many companies as they could, but they were focusing on Disney, which obviously has a big foothold in the state of Florida. And their view was, if we get Disney involved in this, Disney coming out against it, then they're going to cave, and the governor will not be able to sign the bill. So they did do that, and Disney came out and was not honest about it and said that they opposed it. And people looked to me to say, okay, what are you going to do? And I'm saying, I'm standing my ground right here. I am not moving anywhere. At the end of the day, when you're governor, you take an oath. You're taking an oath to support and defend the people that you represent. You're not taking an oath to subcontract out leadership to a woke corporation based in Burbank, California. It's not what you're supposed to do. And as much as I disagree with that position, I understand they had the right to do it, but they did pledge themselves after we signed the bill that they would see to it that the Florida legislature would repeal the parents' rights. And so it's like, okay, you were kind of bullied into taking this position. Now you're saying you're going to continue to wage kind of a woke jihad against the parents of our state and our kids. I'm not sure that that's something that is very appropriate. And so we just said, look, whether you have the right to do it or not, I think in terms of the shareholder value and fiduciary duty, it may be a violation of that, but put that aside. On First Amendment basis, you have a right to do it, but you don't have the right to force us in Florida to subsidize your activism. And the fact of the matter is, Disney was getting more subsidies than almost any company, and probably in American history, certainly more than anybody in Florida. And since the 60s, they've had their own government that they operate. They've had exemptions from laws that all their competitors have to follow, and they've had massive tax breaks. And so all we said is, okay, that's a special arrangement. That's kind of joining this state with this one company at the hip. And if your values are get this gender ideology in elementary school curriculums, that is not the best interest of Florida. It's not in the best interest of our parents and our students. And so we are not no longer happy to have this arrangement. So we work with the legislature, and now because we acted, Disney is no longer going to have its own government. They're going to live under the same laws as everybody else, and they are going to pay their fair share of taxes in the state of Florida.